What's happening, Shredder Nation? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another edition of Shred Your Body. We are literally at episode number 21, and I am freaking excited to talk to my special guest tonight, Mr. Rod Brooks. So, Rod, first off, welcome to Shred Your Body. I appreciate you taking the time and being here, my friend.
Well, thank you, and thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to visit with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive deep. So, for those people that are just joining us, first off, do us a favor, say hello. Mimi already said hello. Drop into the comments, say hello. Let us know where it is that you're coming in from. Every single Tuesday, we do this Shred Your Body call at 8 p.m. Eastern. My mission with this call is to literally highlight the amazing, epic individuals that we have throughout our ER Shred community. We launched the ER Shred in October of last year. And since that time, the 7 or 8 months that we've been going now, we have had thousands. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, right, Rod? We've literally
That's
had thousands of people wake up, come alive. People are using this for athleticism. People are using this to regain back control. It is an empowerment movement. And my goal is just to showcase and highlight people like you, Rod, amazing, what I call shred warriors. I mean, we're going to share your story where you just thought this was going to be like another little rinky dinky tool in your toolbox. And you're now 4 shreds deep, 40 plus pounds released off your body. I think it was 25 inches or something like that, you told me. But the one thing that stood out to me the most that really touched my heart is you said that you get to be the grandpa that your grandkids deserve to be. And out of everything that we're going to talk about, I think that right there is just, I mean, how do you put a price tag on that? Like, how do you put a price tag on that?
well, that's thank you. That's really near and dear to my heart for sure, and we can talk about that a little bit. But that's
Yeah.
kind of how this whole process got started. Long before I ever knew about ER Shred, before it was even existed, But
Yeah.
you tell me where you want to start.
Yeah, so let's do this. So for people that don't know you, comments are flying in. Like, I can't even honestly keep up with them right now, but everybody's saying hello and they're talking about your grandpa project, and we're going to get into that, of course. But let's just for everybody that doesn't know you, let's start off in the beginning. Where are you originally from? Where did you grow up? And kind of just give a brief little thing about what life was like. Were you into sports? I mean, what was life like as a kid? What did
Yeah.
we learn? The little
Wow.
Rod.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of years to cover. We'll go way back, but
Go way
I,
back.
I live in Washington State, out here in the far northwest corner of the country, and I grew up here. And I grew up in a little town. At the time, it had less than 1,000 people. It was called Lake Stevens, Washington. It's over, probably 30 miles north of Seattle. And I think I was related to about half the people who lived in that community. And it was just the quintessential small town. And I grew up in a very what I thought was average middle class family, but I've now learned that it was probably much less class than that,
Mm.
and just had one of those lives where you just enjoyed being outdoors and being with family and relatives. And I started working early. We had in the summer seasons we had berry fields nearby, so I'd get on the berry bus at 6 o'clock in the morning when I was probably 10 or 12 and go pick berries and start saving a little bit of money. And I went through lots of little jobs around our community, everything that you might think of, from box boys to working in lumber yards to you name it,
Yeah.
gas stations. And so I was always pretty active. And as a kid I played all the little league sports. And as I came up through junior high and high school, I had to pick one because I was working, but I played basketball more than any of the others. And my goal was simply to do something that hadn't been done in our family before, and that was to go to college. And
Very
so,
cool.
while all my friends were buying nice cars and having a lot of little extras, the wisdom of my dad said, their car is going to be long gone after your education is still with you. And so that was the next step. I just moved across the state to the other side and went to Washington State University, the home of the Cougars, and the goal there again, was simply to get out of school without debt, which was a lot easier back then, and then get a job.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that was the beginning. It was just a busy life. I started out thinking I wanted to be an accountant, and after about a year, I realized I didn't want to count other people's money. I'd rather make some,
Yeah.
and then a friend inspired me to go into broadcasting and communication. And about another year into that, my advisor told me I had a great face for radio, and that kind of bought my bubble a little bit. And so I asked him about that, and I said, "Hey, what's that about? You know, I'm a senior, I'm ready to graduate." And he says, "Yeah, I think you'd be much better off selling it as a marketer than you would be being the on-air talent. So you're giving me a little bit of what I tried for
Yeah. Yeah.
tonight."
Wow. Okay. So that's a lot of information. But what I gathered from that very quickly, you made one statement that stood out to me, and you learned, you see, it seems like you learned, um, how do I even phrase it? Because it doesn't happen very often these days anymore, sadly. But you learned that hard work ethic from as a kid. That it was, it sounds like your dad a successful business guy? What did I mean? Not successful business guy, but what did dad like? Where did this come from? Where did this
Well,
drive and this motivation come from?
I think it came from desire, and it came from a role model that you hit on, my dad. And
Okay.
no, he wasn't a business guy whatsoever. In fact, there was a little part of his career where he worked in an office and hated it. But
Okay.
I like to, the story. A lot of people talk about, hey, I'm the son of a ditch digger, and I, came up from nothing. I
Yeah.
really was. I really was. My dad worked for the water department in our town, and he dug the ditches and put the pipes in the ground that brought water from the reservoirs to people's faucets back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I remember very vividly, he passed away when I was 25. So it's a long time ago, but I remember he wore a pair of steel-toed boots to work. And they were like always cared for. And those symbolized to me what it really was like to get down in the dirt and work hard. And I was just motivated to not have to wear steel-toed boots to work, to be honest.
Mm,
And I thought, well, that's one thing I can do. I can change things a little bit there. But the desire part was, if I wanted to have something, it wasn't going to be handed to us, because there were five of us and we didn't make a lot of money. I thought we lived in a really big house. I've gone back to it. We didn't. Um, it was just filled up with love. And so with love and work ethic, desire, Jesse, that kind of shaped those years, and those have hung with me.
yeah.
I'm not somebody. I don't like to talk about going to work too much, because I tell people that I always went to fun. I made sure I went to fun.
Yeah.
If you can do what you love and somebody will pay you to do it, then it's not really that hard of work.
Yeah.
And so that's been part of my
Can
history
you
as
can,
well.
can you can you say that one more time? One more time. Can you say that again?
Well, I'll just say that I go to fun, and I think I went to fun for about 45 years, except 5. And anytime I had gone to a place where it felt like work, or it was bothering me for more than 18 months, I quit. And I did that 2 or 3 times. But I always found myself going to fun, and I said, if you can do what you love and find someone who will pay you to do it, you'll always go to fun. And I've always believed that athletes aren't the only ones that should get paid to have fun. And so I kept making sure I looked for a way to do that.
Unbelievable.
And you know what?
Yeah.
After college, my life went on, and I got a job in newspaper sales, and then I
Yeah.
got
Hold
a
on. Hold
job
on.
in.
Hold on one sec, Ron.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I
No,
wanted you
you're
to
good.
repeat. I wanted you to repeat that, because my mission is always to. I look at you like I admire you. I want to learn from you. And I want to make sure that people aren't passing up the amazing nuggets of information that you're dropping right now. And I asked you to repeat that. And I want to share with people that you were a extremely highly successful 45-year career, man. You're an executive and chief marketing officer for regional, national, and global brands. You're the recipient of several prestigious marketing awards, inducted into the Word of Mouth Marketing Hall of Fame, and added to the list of Marketing Immortals in Washington State. You have served on numerous nonprofit boards, and you enjoy giving back in support of organizations that enable young people to succeed. And we're going to touch on this in a little bit, but you're also the founding grandpa and creator of the Grandpa Project that you believe was your higher calling in life to do something bigger than you. And I wanted to share that, Rod, because you're a very humble guy, which I've come to learn about you, and I appreciate that from you. But I want people to understand that these words coming from you, people need to listen right now, because this is not just like some guy making this crap up. You're somebody who's walked the walk, you've talked the talk, like you're still going strong now and you don't have to. And man, do I admire and respect the bejesus out of that. And I just wanted to kind of state that, Rod, so people knew to just open their ears and really listen to these words you're saying, because I feel like sometimes we hear these things and we just let it go in one and out the other. And I want people to realize the power of, one, you just talked about visualization from a childhood, and I just did a video about the power of visualization, and two, really trying to create a way to have more fun in everything you do. And I think that we can really try to find fun in everything, even though some parts of life just suck. Do you agree with that?
I do, and you know, it's sometimes you lose sight of it, and sometimes there's stress that comes into the workplace or into the family. All of those things happen. I just spent a pandemic year, getting some coaching from a mutual friend, Bill Mayer, and
Yeah.
one of the things he helped me remember was just what you're talking about. He said, "You know, Rod, when you have those moments, just ask yourself, how will I make this fun? How will I make this fun?" And I pull that out of my toolbox a lot, because
Love
every
it.
once in a while you find a rough patch and you just have to ask yourself, well, hold it. What's the
Mm.
blessing of being in the patch at all? And so it's a little rough. How can I make this fun? What can I do to lighten things up? So I definitely think you've hit on it. And I also think you're really wise. I have a tendency to try to make sure I optimize all the time we have together. I think it's really more important to slow down and talk about what's meaningful. And thanks for picking those up.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. So I just wanted to show you one thing. Heidi posted, I don't know if you can see the comments. I don't know what you're looking on, but I can highlight certain ones. And I thought that one would
Yes.
really touch you. And there was another one that somebody posted that they love watching your walks. Oh, here we go. They're from Nashville. I don't know who it is because it just says Facebook, but they love watching your walks, beautiful scenery, the meal ideas. So just so you know, there's definitely people that are picking up what you're putting down. Lenny's talking about having more fun. That's a guy right there that definitely has some fun in life for sure. But I think it's important that we all remember that, because life gets stressful. I mean, even me right now, Rod, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I got myself pretty composed, but it's like, life is crazy. The wifey's pregnant. She happens to be one of the women that's like extremely sick. So like, and she's like a mini version of, she's like the woman version of me, like crazy, go go go, ultra marathon, like let's get it done. And to watch her just laid out and just not eat, like it's crazy, right? But that brings extra stress. But I still got to remember, like, this is a fun time, and we can still do things because we can always do hard things, and we just kind of keep reminding ourselves that. It's really, really powerful. I hope people pick up on that. So thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about your health a little bit. Were you a healthy kid? Were you overweight? When did health, I guess, start playing a role in a bad way for you? Meaning that you were gaining weight, you didn't feel good. Was that when was that in life?
You know, it wasn't as a kid. It was all out. I was an outdoors kid. I was a neighborhood kid. I played ball and all in the woods, and I did all the things. So I was really an active kid, and so I never thought. I mean, I was a bigger boy, but I wasn't an overweight boy,
Yeah.
and I was healthy. I was about the size. I was a little taller than most of my friends, but everything else was proportionate and just seemed fine. And that held true through college. Didn't seem to have any real issues there. Even in my first job, I mentioned I was an ad salesperson, and I was always on the go. I mean, I ran the streets really selling ads. Thinking back, that was kind of funny, but I
When
think
you say run the streets, do you mean like business to business?
yeah, literally
I
in
love
a
it.
small community, in order to create an ad, you had to sell an ad, and in order to make any money, you had to sell the ad. So I just knew that if I could get 3 or 4 more visits in every day than the other people, I'd make 3 or 4 more pieces of commission.
Law
And
of averages, baby, right?
yeah, exactly.
Law
And
of
those are some of
averages.
those habits that, you know, the more people we talk to, the more people we share with,
Yeah.
the more people we're going to help. And so anyway, I was very active then. I guess in retrospect, when I look back, when my career became more of a strategist, a marketer, more of a desk job, to be honest,
Yeah.
and it also had a few more of those. Some would think of them as benefits, but you know, a lot more dinners out, a lot
Yeah.
more things like that, traveling, a lot of air travel time. I think I noticed it in my 40s more, and I started to gain, you know, the 10 pounds, and then I'd lose the 5 pounds, but then I'd gain the 10 pounds, and I'd only lose the 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I got to a point by the time I was in my 50s. I'm 68 this month, but when I was in my 50s, I looked at myself and I had 4 children. They were pretty well grown, and I said, well, you're probably just going to be one of the big guys. I mean, that's just who you are. You probably, that's who your life is. And so it didn't sneak up on me early. I think it was
Yeah.
like 40s ish kind of that I really started to add that extra weight. And even then it was just that little bit of weight that people talk about, oh, I could get rid of easily on the 10 or the 20. But I'll tell you what, when you wake up one morning and you realize that's 100, it's not 10 or 20. And I listened to your talk. I think it was with Paul last week, and
Hmm.
was it Paul?
Yep.
And what resonated with me was there was a day where I got up to go to work I put on regular dress shoes instead of steel-toed boots, and I bent over to tie them, and it hurt,
Mm.
and I was winded when I got done. And I
Yeah.
mean, this is not a big job. This is not a
Yeah.
big job.
So this is kind of crazy. And I want to kind of dissect this a little bit if we can, because I think this is important to see the steps. So here we are, this extremely motivated guy, driven, visualization, creating where he wants to go in life, get into marketing. Obviously, that was your niche. I mean, you crushed it. You got the awards and the promotions to back that. You know, had a super successful career with that. Driven, get promoted, and then obviously, life habits change. But I find it interesting to know that the mindset of this driven guy now has this other thing, and yet the health thing kind of creeps in. Like, was there something in there that like what allows that to happen? Like, where can you identify? Do you know what I'm trying to ask you? I'm trying to. I want people to realize like how that shift can happen. Because a lot of people come to me as a health coach and like, look, I was in my 20s and I was strong and I was this, and now I'm 45 and I can't even like wake up in the morning.
Well, I think I know what you're asking, and I'll just share with you that you know, I said I went to work and I went to fun and not work, and that was pretty much universally true. When I came home from work, it wasn't always fun,
Mm,
and what I found was that, you know, with 4 children, our plan, my wife and I, our plan was going just the way we had talked about.
yep.
That if, as long as I could make it work, she wouldn't work outside the home. That she wanted to be a homemaker and maybe a substitute teacher. She had all that, but over time, I was bringing the stuff home that I didn't get done in the daytime,
Mm,
spending an hour eating after they'd already eaten, grabbing my briefcase about 8 o'clock, working till 11 o'clock, playing, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. It wasn't hard, it wasn't stressful, that part. But what did happen was after 23 years, we looked up and said we don't know each other. We'd grown apart, and so I'm going to tell you that I think it was an emotional shift during probably the last 5 to 10 years, I think people can be active and they can be happy at work and they can go. But if there's an emotional shift, perhaps that might be part of my equation for weight gain and being a little more sedentary and being slower about life a little bit. There was another piece a little later than that, that I was actually much more recently, only like 5 years ago, but was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And that was another emotional piece, and battled it fine. It was a very aggressive form of cancer, and they had to do all the different, they had to do surgery, they had to do radiation, they had to do hormone therapy. It took years, and weathered that one just fine too. But it was coming out of those kinds of life-changing events, emotional events, that that maybe would be more in sync with my physical well-being as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can totally see it, and thank you for actually picking up on what I was trying to ask, because I was struggling with trying to get the question, but I trying to identify. I think when I dig deep enough, there's always something that triggers where it's at. Some people get it from childhood, other people get it from other aspects, later on in life. And it sounds like you got it later on in life, and it really messes with you. And I think I'm going to use my best judgment and know and say that the reason I think that you're so super successful still today, right now, is yep, you had the tools, and we'll talk about how this came in, but you've battled the storm, you've survived the storm, you've gone through the good, the bad, the good, the bad, the good, the bad. You kept talking about these different things, and I think that's one of my superpowers. I have failed and messed up life so much, but I just refuse to quit. And I'm going to learn from every single one, and I'm going to keep showing up, and I'm going to keep showing up and do those things that somebody's not willing to do. So I think that's one of your great things too, Rod. Just kind of listening to your story of like watching that transition, it kind of makes sense. But people, if people can, I like that you can identify where you feel the disconnection was, because that's an important piece that I think some people miss too, is they try to hide from it, and you
Yes.
seem to say, you know what, let me embrace it. Let me embrace that time in life. It wasn't something that I want to look back on and give a party about, but you can embrace it, you can identify it, and now you can use it as a strength. And I love that. I admire that. I don't know if you feel like I'm on with you about that, but
Well,
I feel that from you.
we maybe everybody listening thinks they're sitting in on a shrink session or something, but I will tell you that it's been 3 or 4 years now
Yeah.
that I enrolled in a year-long program of personal growth, development, introspection, and I thought I went in there really healthy and open-minded and ready to get what I could get from this program, only to find out that one of the very earliest exercises that was really difficult was kind of where you just talked about. And they said, look, we want you to identify something that you remember from your earliest years, like maybe 6 to 12 years old. We want you to identify something that was kind of maybe when you're 16 to 20 years old, and something after that that have a common theme that impacted your life. And I'll just be real brief here, but I had one where I had a cousin who was same age, lived right next door. We did a lot of the same things, and it seemed like she always ended up a little higher in the pecking order than I did. If it was band, if it was spelling, whatever it was, and I noticed it, and that gave me a message that I'm not good enough. Then I went on and I played basketball with all my young friends all the way through junior high and high school. And by the time you get to high school, not everybody gets to make the team. We're sitting in the locker room, and my name doesn't get called. And I had that "you're not good enough" moment. And then with my first marriage, my father-in-law wouldn't allow us to get married, and he wouldn't bless it until I was out of college. He wouldn't bless it till I had a good job, and he didn't like the job I had. And once again, I got the message of I'm not good enough. And that none of that, I didn't know any of that until I looked back. But what they told me and what I took away from this learning, Jesse, was that those 3 events and others like them caused me to live an "I'll show you" life. what was deeply seated as you're not good enough manifests itself as I'll show you. And I'll show you meant I will get to the top of that corporate ladder. I'll show you meant that I'll finish things in a way that they haven't been finished before. I'll show you meant I'll show you whose career got off track, ex-father-in-law. I was living in, and I never said it out loud. I never thought it, but I lived it. And there's another emotional disconnection from what a healthy state of mind is. And I learned how to let that go. I learned how to, and I mean, that's a whole nother story, but I learned how to let that all go away and just
Yeah,
live
I
in
would
gratitude.
love to actually set up another call that we just describe with people if you're open to it. Because I know that you've invested a lot of time and you've hired coaches, but that is such priceless information. I still need to let go. I work on that a lot. Like I've got through courses and stuff, but as you're talking, I'm literally thinking of my childhood. I'm thinking of being made fun of all the time, of being the fat kid. I'm not good enough. I'm thinking of, like getting made fun of by so-called friends. I'm not good enough. I'm thinking of high school where I was still the oddball. I'm not good enough. You know what I mean? Like I used the gym as my savior, which was my safe place for some. That's why I got into working out when I first did. And even through life, like I've had a divorce, my ex-wife, still tells me that I'm a shitbag and I'm worthless and I'm this. And I'm like, I'm strong enough mindset now, but it still messes with you. I'm thankful to have an amazing fiance and you know what I mean, somebody who supports and everything. But it's identifying these things in life, right, Rod?
Yeah, it is.
That is so important because you can become stronger from them,
Yeah.
but it's also being wise enough to tap in and I think ask for help too. And that's why I love our community so much. It's one of the things that really lights me up is I think our community, I mean, gosh, we have you, we have Susan, we have Sean, we have, Bob, come on, like how many countless, you know what I mean? Like amazing, epic professionals of all walks of life do we have? And I think it's one of those beautiful things we have. So,
Well, and what
um,
makes it beautiful to me is that it was unintentional, but intentionally unintentional. You
yes,
attracted people to a community based on the values of the community, based
yeah,
on the culture of the community. It wasn't like, okay, if you want to be on this team, everybody get over here, we pick you, you come with us. It was no, who's going to show up? And
mm,
who's going to show up and participate. And there's people who are sitting in the corners listening all the time, and that is how they show up, and that's okay, because at
mm-hmm.
some point they're going to be the one that steps into the center. And it's not everybody has a role to play. I really do value this community very, very much. It's made a
Yeah.
difference for me.
That's awesome, and I want to touch on that. But let's go to the back of your story. Let's kind of get into health. So you're in your career. You got the desk job. Things in life happened. You said. Let me just make sure I get this right. Um, it was uh, when was it officially? It was 2014, September of 2014. Would you say that health wise, weight wise, was that one of your lowest points right there at that point in life at that moment?
Yeah, it was the summer before that. And this ties to some more of the things you and I
Yeah,
both
go for
talk
it.
about. This was there. I mean, there were probably lots of roller coaster rides. I'm the guy who tried every diet that there is. I mean, I could list them off, but you don't want me to, and I'm not going to. I just tried them all, and I will tell you, they all worked
Yeah,
until they didn't.
yeah.
And when they didn't, they failed miserably, and I was worse off than when I started usually.
Mm,
But I went through them all. I wanted to be a better looking guy. I wanted to be a little bit more capable of moving around with my kids and later in life my grandkids. But the summer of 2014, my oldest son at that time had 3 children. I, by the way, have 9 grandkids, but at the time I think I had 4. And he would come to our house here on the lake at Lake Chelan as kind of a vacation getaway for his family, and we
yep.
we loved it for that reason. The kids came to visit, and I must have looked terrible because I remember him coming up to me and he said, "Hey Dad, let's just go for a little walk. I'd like to talk to you about something." And, you know, I thought I'm going to be giving fatherly advice and he might
Yeah.
have a little challenge. And during the walk, essentially, I can't quote it verbatim, but essentially he said, "Hey Dad, you know, you told me that you never knew your grandpa because he died before you were born. Yeah. And you told me that your dad didn't know his grandpa for the same reason. Yeah." And he says, "Well, Dad, your dad, my grandpa, died when I was 1 month old. I'm your oldest son and I didn't know him either. So here we are, 3 generations of grandpa-less men." And he says, "So, you know, Dad, I've got 3 kids and they love you, but they're little kids and they're going to want to know you. But Dad, they don't get a vote. It's not up to them. It's up to you if you're going to be around to know them. And to know them isn't enough. It's a start, but you want to be able to play with them. You want to be able to teach them. You want to be able to love them back." And so I, on my own, said, "No more diets. I'm just white knuckling it. I know I'm smart enough man to know that what I put in the mouth is the problem and not moving, sitting on the couch is the other part. So I'm going to put less crap in and I'm going to move more." And that was probably 3 or 4 months before I got to September of 2014.
Wow. Talk about a
I love him to
wake up.
death for that conversation. I mean, that's the conversation that, you know, you've raised not just a good child, but a good adult.
Yeah.
And he spoke a lot of love into my heart. And I yeah, I don't even remember, what was that, 2014. I was 61, I guess, so 7 years
Yeah.
ago. And you know what, yeah, that's right, because a few years before that, I had gone to a high school reunion.
Yeah.
And while I was there, someone came up to me and said, "You know, I've been watching you on Facebook." Now, when we were all kind of getting together and our little Facebook friends, and I really like the way you're living your life. Could we be friends? And I said, "Well, yeah, we can be friends. I mean, you were one of the cool girls that I was never good enough for. Of
Yeah.
course, we can be friends." And you know, she's happily married, I'm happily remarried, and life is good. But we started getting together, and it took her 3 years. But eventually, she said, "Hey, you know, I have something for you that might help." And in September of 2014, she
God froze on me.
Are you there, Jess?
Oh, there
Yeah,
you are. You're back.
Jesse,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Jesse, you're locked up on my screen.
Hold on.
Okay, I hear you.
Hold on. There we go. No echo. Rod is back. Okay, so listen, I covered for us. Don't worry about it. We had a great time while you were gone. You
I
can go
bet
in
you
the
can
comments.
juggle too.
You can go in the comments and you can catch up on all of that. But I want to get into the nitty gritty because we're closing out. So you have a friend that introduces you to amazing nutritional products. You get on these systems in 2014 and you crush it. You crush it. You lost. I think you said you lost 50 pounds. Is that right? During
50 pounds, 50 inches. I mean, I nailed it, and you know, it was awesome, and yeah, and I've been with it for 6.5 years.
Yeah, you've been using the same nutritional products for 6.5 years.
Exactly.
I'll tell you this, in my 20 years of being in the fitness industry, I have done a lot of research and I have put a lot of stuff in my body. I have yet to come across a complete line all the way across of something that is just such high quality from a company that actually puts their money where their mouth is. Some people can run it, some people can talk. I've been living in this industry for a very long time. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it's hands down some of the best nutrition. You had that access to it, but you lose this weight. You start to actually build a business with it. You do very, very well with it. And then explain to me what happened, because something happened where it went the opposite direction from where you were going.
Yeah, I'd like to put the blame on a lot of things, but I really keep putting the blame back on me. That one of the things is that when you have a lot of people that come to visit you at the lake and you live on the lake and it's a beautiful place to be, it's a bit of a trigger. It's one thing to vacation there; it's another thing to live there. And every day you wake up and it's like, well, it must be time for another margarita or another glass of wine. And we live in wine country. I have 7 wineries within walking distance of my house. There's 24 here where I live. I mean, it's just all that. But at the same time, there was health issues. There were we sold a house and moved. There was lots of things, but I think it was me. I think it was me that I relaxed my intention. I probably got back into some of those bad patterns. I was loyal to the use of the products I was using. And I used a lot of them. And I think that at some point, I think I've heard you say before, things can be good for you, but if you have too much of all those good things or in the wrong combinations, I'm not exactly sure how you put it, but I had a lot of good things, And, gosh, right back, like I said, that first story, 10 pounds would come on, 5 more, maybe lose a couple, 5 more. And, I got out of the habit of walking. I'm an avid walker. I like to get out and walk. And you mentioned that earlier. And I got out of that habit. Winter came. It was a little harder. I wish I could tell you that there was some reason that would be justifiable, but it was just me. It was just me and life,
So you put all that weight back on that you lost?
I think the first time I started at over 340 pounds, and I'm 6'2". And the second time, this time, December of last year, I was around 321 when I got on the scale. So pretty close to having it all back. And
I got a question. I got a personal question for you, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
When you started to go backwards, you shared with me this talk that your son had with you.
Yeah.
And then you lose the weight, and I'm sure you're feeling great. And I know that when you lose 50 pounds, inflammation's gone, joints feel better, you're moving better, like your confidence is up. When you started to go back the other direction, what kind of mental thing did that play with you? Did you have thoughts of that conversation?
Yeah.
Like what happened in there?
Yeah, a lot of things that had been going really well. I slowed them down. I mean, I was attracting, like I said, we talked about attracting people. I was attracting a lot of people. I helped a lot of people get into the nutrition that we were enjoying. And one of the things I noticed is, hey, you can't talk about that anymore.
Yeah.
You can't talk about that. You're a phony. You're a fraud. I mean, you don't. I had one of the people who I was doing regular regional talks or local talks on behalf of our solution, and they said, you really can't stand up on the stage and do that anymore because you don't look like you're healthy. And so there was, I'm not good enough. Lived up to that.
There it is again.
Yeah,
there it is again.
And I felt bad, and I kind of just started to hunker down, and I started not to hunker down in a bad way, like not show up, wear bigger, baggier clothes, do things that didn't require a lot of motion and moving around. It was embarrassing. And I'm not saying it's over. It's not over. I'm on my way, but it's not over. I've got, another 50 to 60 pounds to lose. Yeah. So, it's a setback. It's a setback. And, at what I'm really kind of amazed at, and I wanted to make sure I shared this with you tonight. I don't know if we've messed up our time or not, probably a lot, but I will share this part with you that, what I'm surprised by since having joined with the AR Shred community is how easy it is for me not to go backwards. It is so simple. And, it was recommended to me to take a look because the coaching that I received. I actually signed up for the coaching because I was at one of my lowest spots. And I said, I've got to get things back together here again. I don't have all the resources I used to have because I'm retired now. I can't go to the corporate events and all the things that I was doing. Yeah. And somebody said, take a look. And I did. And I thought, well, it's 11 days. I can prove to them that just once again, it's another thing that it'll work until it doesn't. But you know what? It worked right away, and I didn't want to be done. I mean, I remember asking, well, now what? Now what do I do? And there wasn't another organized shred for 3 weeks, so I did my own in the middle, and it's just been one after the other. And I'll tell you that it's never been easier. And I was thinking about it just yesterday. I was thinking, I'm answering questions about about what it's like to struggle with it or without it. And I'm realizing I'm not struggling. I don't have any cravings. I don't have none, zero, zip. All that wine I told you about and alcohol. My wife and I split a bottle of wine on Valentine's Day, and we had another bottle with some friends a month later. And that's it. That's it. And it's not because I decided to not drink. It's because I don't want it. I'm not craving it. It's not part of who I am anymore. So the fact that it works and the fact that it's easy to continue working, this has been a big surprise to me. And that's why now
do you think, Rod, do you think, because I hear this story a lot, especially, coaching for so many years, it's a story that constantly comes up, right? Like you hear these success stories and people get a hold of something. What makes this so easy? Because I've heard that a lot, and that's something that's not typically, I have never put clients through an elimination reset protocol. I've never told them that they can't eat certain foods and only other foods, and have people come back like begging me, like, can I do it again? Can I do it again? Can I just keep going? Like, it's like mind blowing. I'm talking people that were like extremely addicted to carbohydrates, extremely addicted to sugar, pounding sodas every day. I mean, these are powerful addictions. And all of a sudden people are just crushing those. Like, what was the difference? Because you're utilizing some of these same nutritional products, but you're doing it in a different way. You're doing it in a different protocol. And it's powerful. And there's so much science behind it that we don't have time to get into all of that, but it's so powerful. What's the biggest difference, Rod? Why is this? Because you lost 50 pounds. Now, Lenny asked, what's your results so far? Lenny, he's lost 45 pounds. Is that right? 45 pounds. And how many inches so far?
I think my measurements are messed up, but it's between 25 and 30. But
between 25 and 30 inches.
Yeah, let's let Lenny know. I mean, like my first shred, 13.2 pounds. The second shred, 12 pounds. Third shred, 13 pounds. Fourth shred, 10 pounds. And in between, there's always a gain of 1 or 2 in there. I mean, I got the little up and down, but yesterday I just finished a little 7-dayer I did. I said, hey, I got to have a couple cleanse days and 4 or 5 shred days, and then I'll get on to the April 12th one. For me, as a corporate guy, we always said to our teams, and we were trying to do something special, that simple isn't easy. Simple isn't easy. This is the exception to the rule. Simple is easy.
Yeah.
That's what it is, Jesse. It's because it's simple. It's okay. How hard is it? You can have beef, chicken, fish, bacon, butter. Bam. Okay, that's not too hard, right? Oh, and you get to have these 2 wonderful shakes that you've always loved, except for make sure you do it the right way. You know, let's incubate these things and let's use the pro, and let's just pick from 3 flavors. Let's not have 22 flavors on the table. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I've got a pantry full of things that I'm probably never going to eat again because I'm not drawn to them anymore. I think that's it. And the other part, I guess, for me is, I'm that guy who said I live the I'll show you life. Well, I'm going to make this work. And my mindset, I think it's the mindset and the community and the support and showing up. I love it that you say no. You know what? Most everybody else would coach and say, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it would work for you to do this. Yeah. Go ahead and have the thing, try that. And it's like, I love that. No, just make it simple.
Yeah.
I have to tell you again, I was skeptical of the science. And because of all the years of learning about the balance and the portions and all of the things and the vegetables and the fruits and all of that. And I haven't had any except for in between shreds. I've introduced a few little things.
Yeah.
And that's simple. So simple is simple.
Yeah, I wanted to. So when you say, for people that don't know, if somebody watches this, the 11-day ER shred is exactly that. It's an 11-day protocol where we do 2 shake and meat days, 2 cleanse days, 5 shake and meat days, 2 cellular intermittent fasting days. Is when I say cleanse days, cellular intermittent fasting, which research on that is just crazy. I mean, you're talking
Absolutely.
aging backwards, hormone rebalancing. I mean, all sorts of amazing stuff comes from that. Fat adaptation, what we've learned to be the body's best way to fuel, crushes cravings, crushes insulin, crushes blood sugar levels. I mean, all we're doing, Rod, is we're fueling the body with actual food. That's literally what we're doing. It's so stupidly simple that it's almost hard to adapt. It's almost hard to realize. Like, that you've listened to the book, The Greatest Secret, Secret, right?
Yep.
The greatest secret in the world isn't a secret. You are what you think about most. And it's so stupidly easy that it can be overlooked and it can be washed out. And I think that's what comes down to health. So when we did it this time, it was really important to me because over the years, I learned all that same stuff that everybody else did. I used myself as a human guinea pig. I drove myself crazy. And I realized that when it was the simplest form, it was the easiest. And not only that, but the simplest also makes you feel the best.
Yeah.
And when you go in between shreds, you find like you're not like diving back into pizza, you're not craving Coke, you're not going out and doing it. Is it because you don't want to? Is it because you can't? Like, describe that. Like, why do you choose not to do that anymore?
Truthfully, I'm very satisfied. That's the first thing. As I eat my main meal, my wife and I have adjusted our schedule. I eat at about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yep.
And I have to remember, like I almost have to check the clock. I have to remember to have my second shake. Yeah. Because sometimes it's 9:00 and I haven't had it because I'm full. I'm satisfied. I'm not full like heavy. I'm full like satisfied.
You're nutritionally full.
Exactly. And I used to if we would have dinner at 5, used to be by 7:30 I'd have some chips or something going on, always to just be eating, mindless eating and drinking, and that doesn't even show up anymore.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. What was the other part of your question? Well, anyway, it seems to me that it's just so easy to stay on track because your body is not asking for anything.
Isn't it crazy?
It's awesome.
Crazy? It's literally the best feeling in the world. I mean, some of your non-scale victories, wearing smaller shirts and pants, your belt is 2 to 3 notches smaller, absolutely zero cravings since day 7 or 8. I don't know how many people can say that. Nobody goes and loses weight and says, "Oh, I've never heard one person complain about that here." You're sleeping more soundly. You have increased energy. You're out walking consistently again. You're believing yourself. You're confident. I mean, these are things that are so much bigger than the 42 pounds and the 25 inches that you lost. That's life-changing.
Yeah.
That's what we call life-changing. That's what we call coming alive. So, Rod, we are over, but I cannot let you go without you telling me about the Grandpa Project. Let's end it with that. Your bigger than life mission, what you were called to do. Tell people about your Grandpa Project, please, and what that means.
Well, guys, it's pretty simple and it's really rewarding. And it came from that conversation with my son, and it made me, I just said, I am personally a project. And I'm a project because I'm a grandpa. And so in myself, I was going to get healthy, and I was calling myself the Grandpa Project. Then I started to imagine what could be. And I literally had a dream about it, a vision for it, a calling toward it, whatever you want to call it, a divine calling, if you want. I don't know, but it showed me that there was a place for me to inspire men to live a healthier life,
Mm.
to be available and healthy for their grandchildren. And so I set about a mission to create a space, and it started out just to be a space. And I created a website called thegrandpaproject.com, and I was collecting stories from men about their time with grandkids, about grandkids who had time with their grandpas, people who never had a grandpa, collecting stories. And I interjected some nutrition, but what that really grew up to was my own relationship with my own grandkids. And then I was able to say, well, you know, when you come to see me, we're going to have grandpa dates. We're going out. We're doing some special things. We're going to have some time together. And we did. It just kind of kept growing. So it became more than me. And I brought together a group of men that I considered mentors and advisors. And we created a little board around this thing. And we talked about what it could be. And we've so far in our community, we've had, as a result, a grandpa camp where we've had we've taken over a theater and let the grandpas bring their grandkids to the movies for free. And we played there and we had fun there. We've had grandpas in the classroom where we've taken over an elementary school. We've got volunteer grandpas for the kids that don't have a real grandpa. And we've gone into the classroom. During the pandemic, we had to convert that. We created grandpagrams. So we mail grandpa like pen pals out to these kids. And it languished. While I was languishing, gaining weight, that program was languishing on the back end. And I want to just give ER Shred a ton of credit, because it has re-inspired me to rekindle those fires and bring some things into the marketplace, bring some things into the world that the phrase that we use, that I use, is that every child deserves to know, learn from, and be loved by a grandpa. And it doesn't even have to be their grandpa. It just needs to be a grandpa. And I'm sure that's true for grandmas too, but I don't live there. That's not me. So there's room for the ladies to take that one on. But that's what it's become. And it is bigger than me. I don't quite know how it's going to manifest itself over time, but I enjoy it and I love it. And ER Shred's a part of it now.
Oh man, that's amazing.
There's always something beyond underneath, and you just found it. There's always
I'm just taking that in, because that's like I envision I want to be that grandpa. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know one of my biggest regrets is that my grandpa, my dad's dad, my dad's side of the family is Jewish, and my grandparents actually went into a survival camp. They were part of the Holocaust at the very, very end. Thankfully, they were able to get out when the war was over, and they spoke like 9 different languages. And while I spent time with him, I don't feel like I feel like I could have got so much more. And I blame a lot of that on it's a lot of regret that I have for my 20s, like doing stupid drugs and just messing life up. And now my grandpa on my mom's side, it has cancer throughout his entire body. When my grandma died at 62, she was the glue to the family, and we kind of lost that bond. And this is just bringing up like all sorts of emotion. I know my daughter, she has my dad, but she lost her mom's dad, her other grandpa, at 61 because of very bad health, loads and loads of money, but very, very bad health, and quite literally killed himself. Unfortunately, not suicidal, but in a way of bad health and drinking and cigarettes. And man, I'll tell you, what an amazing vision. Because I think you're right. Rod. Like, I want to, man, I got a whole new level of respect for you. I want to adopt you as my grandpa.
All right. Well, I'll tell you,
and I'm serious. I'm dead serious, because I'm always looking for men to help me up level and become a better man. And you're just a person for me that everything you do, you know, this mission, it just speaks volumes around the character, the person who you are. I think it just kind of tells everything. It just sums it up, Rod. And I just want to, I mean, I want to praise you in every way that I can praise you. And I'm trying to think of the words. And the best thing that I could do is just say that I want to literally adopt you as my grandpa. And what I mean by that is I want you to, I want to look to you as my mentor. I want to keep learning from you. I feel like your knowledge and value is just endless when it comes to experience. And we're grateful to have you as part of this community. Like, I think I'm speaking for Sean and everybody on the board. We are very, very grateful to have you. And I really appreciate you sharing tonight and spending some time with us.
Thank you for saying those are very generous and kind words. And I want to give back into the community. I will tell you my last tip of this whole thing I can give you is, and anybody who's listening, is that we talked about my, I'll show you life and the corporate ladders. One of the things that in retrospect I learned that I spent way too much time on corporate ladders and not enough time on playground ladders. And that's where this all comes. It really gets real in your soul when you realize what you were doing instead of what you were doing. And so this is a big thing. It's important. There's a culture of now men and women going off to work and pushing careers to a point that disrupts some traditional family connections. So I'll leave you to think about that. I'm sorry about the technology thing in the middle. I don't know if it was me, you, whatever, but it didn't work. And
doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter because we made it work, and that's just what we do. We had a good time. We had a good time. Listen, I want to do a follow-up. I would love to share more about your story. I'm going to connect with you offline. You can secretly send me your address so I can plan visits and come learn from you. No, but seriously, man, I really appreciate you. I value you. I can't wait to keep connecting. I can't wait until we can meet all together. And just really kind of bond and get to know each other and just share more. But keep showing up. I know you have a big, fat, audacious goal where you will hit the 100-pound club. I am right by your side. This entire community is right by your side. I think you can smash and win the IsoBody Challenge. You are a perfect person to say age is only a freaking number, and you are not defined by that, because you can make the decision to create change anytime you want if you just get this right. And I think you're a perfect example of that. So, Rod, we're going to cut it. We went a little over, obviously, but I just want to respect everybody's time, and I value, and I can't thank you enough again for showing up tonight, my friend.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you. You're a great host. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. We'll chat soon.
All right. Take care.
All right, guys. Have an awesome night.
Bye, Jess.